Experience, that most brutal a teacher. But you learn. My God, you learn. C.S. Lewis penned those words, and it could not ring any truer for me, and probably many of you as well, as we gather today for one of the last remaining class periods. Hopefully the lessons and challenges presented throughout this semester has taught us all much about public speaking in various ways, in spite of, and even especially, through the mistakes and shortcomings we've encountered in our own skills. Without being willing to humbly admit and see our own weaknesses, we will likely remain just as we are, without learning from our mistakes, how we can improve and develop our skills. It was partially this willingness to learn from some of my past bad ideas that inspired me to use this opportunity to just remind you all of a couple pretty familiar but very important life principles that I've learned are truly vital to success, however you define it for yourself. The first thing I'd like to say might be naturally directed towards those who may tend to be a little more impulsive, a little less likely to think every detail through before starting in a venture. Think things through. Learn to think things through. A good number of you have probably at least heard of the parable in the Bible in Luke 14:31 about the wise king who stopped, saw the army coming towards him, realized that the other army was twice as big as his own, and instead of trying to fight those odds, he negotiated a peace treaty. This probably is not a very applicable situation for most of us, unless somebody here is planning to invade Canada or something. But it does demonstrate the point well. Nearly every changing situation you find yourself in warrants from the start a decent amount of rational, cogent thinking, as I'm sure you've all experienced, and as I certainly did a few months ago. It was a dark and stormy night. Nope, wrong story. My bad. It was actually a bright, sunny, and beautiful day. Kind of breezy, too. So I decided to climb my favorite pine tree. It's not a particularly large tree, but a good size, still healthy and supple, and probably 40 to 50 feet high. So I waited till my mom wasn't watching, which is usually a bad idea, and squirreled my way up the tree. Now, I knew before I started up that it was pretty windy that day, but I didn't bother to concern myself with that added hazard. I'm a guy. We don't need to think about potential danger. Thinking that way is another bad idea. So I clambered up to my normal climbing altitude and promptly discovered that I was essentially in a windstorm, in a supple, flexible pine tree at least 40 feet up. I was legitimately scared for my life, but I still didn't pass up the chance to take a few epic selfies of my mortified expression. I did manage to get down at my own pace, mind you, and I have tales to tell for another day. For example, the time I did the same as two of my high school buddies and decided to adopt a pet rock. Yes, a rock, to use for backyard weightlifting. I found one that looked just right for that purpose, promptly named it Cephas, which is the Apostle Peter's Greek name, meaning rock, and transported him back home. There was a minor problem, though. I didn't realize that I had about a quarter-mile walk back to the car, and apparently my little Cephas happened to weigh precisely 85 pounds. So he did satisfy that purpose very well, but a bit sooner and harsher than I had intended, due to my short-sighted planning. The second thing I'd like to say, to remind you of, is this. Decide for yourself who and what is most important in your life. Yes, it is immensely important to be able to organize your homework and studying in regard to the time you have and the importance of the work. But this principle is also imperative in many other areas of life as well, such as remembering your family back home as you toil through college. My grandpa was an aircraft mechanic and pilot in Nigeria, Africa, as a bush missionary. On a regular basis, he and other pilots had to cope with some pretty awful conditions and calamities, and he's told me many gripping stories of near disasters that God got him out of safely. sadly, I haven't been able to see my Michiganian grandparents much since we moved away from Michigan down here. But recalling the countless fond times that we've shared has given me a firm reminder of how much they care for my brother and me, their only 2 grandkids, and how interested they still are in our lives. At the same time, I've had to realize that time never stops passing, and chances are my grandparents probably won't live to see me at least finish college, or find the wife that God has set aside for me somewhere. I want to reaffirm with you the same appreciation for your senior relatives that I learned through seeing my time with them gradually slip away. It can be easy to take their wealth of experience and wisdom for granted, especially if you see them often, or if they've simply always been there in your life. But please don't make this mistake. The generation of our grandparents has seen such a vast variety of changes in national and global history, and I bet if you asked them with genuine interest, they'd be more than happy to tell you stories of what it was like before the VHS, or even, dare I say it, the vinyl record. So appreciate the love and concern of your family, both relatives at home and your extended family, and keep them updated from time to time on your progress through college and through your life in general. I'm positive they'll appreciate it right back. Also, try to keep planning and thinking ahead as you continue through college, and above all, enjoy this time in your life. Thank you.